Welcome to the Explainer. Imagine this for a second. You just dropped your hard-earned cash on a service, only to realize you've been totally ripped off. And worse, the business is just flat out refusing to help. If you live in Michigan, you might feel pretty powerless in that exact moment. But looking through the state's regulatory guides, it turns out we actually have a robust, powerful toolkit for fighting back and resolving consumer disputes right here in the Great Lakes state.
It is such a frustrating reality, isn't it? Whether it's getting sold an absolute lemon by a shady used car dealer, getting overcharged by a contractor, or being relentlessly hounded by illegal robocalls. Man, that feeling of being scammed can leave you feeling incredibly isolated. But digging into these resources shows us that you are far from alone. And more importantly, you are definitely not powerless.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our highly structured, step-by-step roadmap for today. First, the power of complaining. Second, the top complaints in Michigan. Third, an exact filing guide. Fourth, what actually happens after you file. And finally, protecting your consumer rights. Section 1. The power of complaining. Let's look at why speaking up is both a consumer right and a major responsibility. You know, complaining often gets a pretty bad rap, right? But in the consumer world, it is absolutely fundamental. When you speak up, you aren't just trying to get your own money back. You're actually exposing systemic fraud and protecting your neighbors. Just look at this statement from Attorney General Dana Nessel. She says, Michiganders work hard for their money, and as the state's chief consumer advocate, it is up to us to help them understand their consumer rights and protect them from bad actors. It's honestly fascinating to see the AG's office positioned as your powerful mentor and chief advocate when a business refuses to play fair. And hey, if you're sitting there wondering whether filling out some government form actually does anything, just look at this number, $1.6 million. That is the massive amount the department recovered in consumer refunds and forgiven debts in just 1 year, all generated from nearly 9,000 complaints. So yeah, the system clearly works if you just know how to pull the right levers. Moving on to Section 2, Top Michigan Consumer Complaints. Let's explore exactly why Michiganders are reaching out for help.
Looking at the data is super interesting. The undisputed heavyweight champion of consumer frustration in Michigan is credit and financial concerns. We're talking over 900 complaints in a single year about aggressive debt collection and shady payday lending. Right behind that, telecommunications. Think endless, annoying robocalls. And rounding out the top 3 is motor vehicles. So if you've ever driven a used car off a lot only for the check engine light to pop on a mile down the road, well, you've got a whole lot of company.
It turns out that whether you're retail shopping or dealing with some shady service provider, the Michigan Consumer Protection Act acts like a legal shield. It specifically prohibits unfair and deceptive trade practices. This means it protects you from inferior products and from businesses who try to claim you need expensive repairs that you actually don't.
Section 3, Step-by-Step Filing Guide. So, the crucial point is knowing exactly how to take action.
Let's look at a high-level overview of the complete execution process so you know exactly what to expect. It breaks down into 4 main phases. First, contacting the business manager. Second, gathering your documentation. Third, finding the right AG form. And fourth, submitting the whole shebang online or by mail. It looks pretty straightforward on the surface, but there are some major pitfalls you need to avoid. Step 1 is giving the business a chance to fix it locally first. Delaying could actually jeopardize your rights. A great pro tip here, calling on the phone is often way less effective than a personal visit. If you go in person, maybe bring a friend along. They can help you feel more comfortable and serve as a crucial witness when you talk to the manager. Oh, and if you paid with a credit card, you can also request a chargeback through your card company. But what if the business won't budge? That brings us to step 2. Document everything. You are essentially building a mini legal dossier here. Clear, organized documentation is the foundation of a successful complaint. You need to write down exactly what happened, with specific dates, times, and who you talked to. Gather up all those receipts, contracts, and canceled checks. And crucially, state the exact compensation you expect. Do you want a full refund, an exchange, a formal apology? Spell it out clearly.
Okay, pay close attention to this next detail because it is absolutely critical. Never ever send your original documents. Seriously, the AG's office will not return them to you, so you must only send copies. Also, you need to keep sensitive data out of your emails. Do not include your social security number or credit card info. If you absolutely have to include it, send it safely through physical mail instead. Step 3 is heading to the AG's complaint directory at my.gov/agcomplaints to find the right form. You might think there's just one giant complaint box for everything, but there are actually specialized forms, whether it's a general consumer issue, a robocall, or Medicaid fraud. Using the exact right form is what prevents those annoying administrative delays and gets your complaint on the right desk immediately.
Section 4. What happens after filing? Let's manage some expectations about the timeline and the limits of the AG's power. So, you've gathered your docs and clicked send. What happens next? Well, here is the real-world timeline. First, you'll receive a confirmation screen with an AG file number. Next comes processing, which usually means waiting a few weeks since they get thousands of these. After that, a copy of your complaint is sent directly to the business for a response, and the AG's office attempts mediation. Just keep in mind, not every single complaint produces a direct response or investigation, but your data is still vital for tracking systemic bad actors.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it translates some heavy legal jargon. We're talking about FOIA, or the Freedom of Information Act. Basically, this law means that once you submit your complaint to a state agency, it officially becomes a public record. This perfectly explains why keeping your sensitive personal information out of your complaint is so incredibly vital. Anyone, including the press, could potentially request to see it.
Ultimately, the Attorney General's office acts as a massive regulatory enforcement mechanism. Now, they aren't your private attorneys, but they use the considerable weight of the state to mediate disputes and get consumers their money back. Often, just the shock of a business receiving a formal letter bearing the Attorney General's official seal is enough to prompt a very sudden refund.
Section 5. Protecting your consumer rights. Let's look at backup options and ongoing vigilance.
If state mediation stalls out and doesn't resolve things directly, don't worry, you still have alternative avenues for justice. For instance, the Consumer Protection Unit of your local county prosecutor's office is also fully empowered to enforce the Michigan Consumer Protection Act. You can check with local city agencies or even take it to the federal level by notifying the FTC. You basically have a whole multi-layered net of agencies ready to back you up.
Of course, the best offense is a good defense, right? You should regularly check the AG's online directories and resources. They frequently post the absolute latest warnings on cyber fraud and new scams sweeping the state. Staying informed and practicing ongoing vigilance is the easiest way to make sure you never even have to fill out a complaint form in the first place. And this brilliantly illustrates the core actionable steps you should walk away with today. Try resolving things face-to-face with the manager first. Keep impeccably detailed records, but only ever send copies. Protect your personal data from potential FOIA disclosures, and always use the specific forms in the AG's online directory for the fastest possible results.
Just before we wrap up, a quick legal disclaimer. This explainer provides general administrative information and educational guidance regarding the Michigan AG complaint process. We are not acting as specialized legal counsel here, so please always consult a qualified legal professional if you need specific legal advice. I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Shady businesses often rely entirely on your silence. They bet that you'll just be too tired, too busy, or too confused to navigate the system. So ask yourself, if you don't stand up for your consumer rights today, how much is it going to cost you or the very next person they try to scam tomorrow? You've got the roadmap now. Thanks so much for exploring this topic with me on today's Explainer, and I'll catch you next time.